To be given by our very own Doug Field. Doug Field, he is interested in the study of matter, energy, space, time, and the art of public speaking. He's a graduate of the Dale Carnegie course and an advocate of our very own Toastmasters. He's a man that loves to read books of antiquity and believes that change is the premier decision in a person's life. Transformation is essential in a person's life because with transformation, torque, and Toastmasters, anything is possible. Mr. Doug Field. The title of his speech is What is in it for me? Thank you.
Fellow Toastmasters, whenever you approach an audience, be aware that they're asking one question and one question only. What's in it for me? Right? We can walk into any group and have an idea what we need to speak about. There are multiple ways of fine-tuning this, though. I like the way Dale Carnegie said it. He said, talk in terms of the other person's interests. Is that a backward sentence or what? What I interpret that to mean, talk in terms of the other person's interests. What I interpret that to be is talk about what interests the other person, right? For example, you're all apple farmers and you're at a convention and somebody comes along and he's going to talk to you about fertilizer, right? And his fertilizer is great for corn. Are you interested? The answer is no. By mistargeting, we often speak not to who we're in front of. So I'm going to share with you two concepts. One is about triggers. What is a trigger? And the other one is, what is your motivation? And these both come from two different works. Triggers, it's based on a book by Sally Hogshead. I wish I could have made up that name. And she talks about 7 triggers: passion, mystique, prestige, power, rebellion, alarm, and trust. So what can we take from this? Right? If you want to create a state in the audience, you trigger it. For example, if your speech is about saving money, saving time, saving energy, you can start off with an alarm. We have potential leaking out of our organization because we're not minding we're missing something here, and people will just go whoop. They'll go into the right state and start listening to what you're saying. The other thing is, what's in it for me? How do we determine that? Stephen Reese, in his book about 16 Things, talked about that. He surveyed 60,000 people over 2 or 3 decades, and they came up with 16 different things that everyone can chime into. Not everyone at any one time, but when you talk about mankind at large, there are a number of things that you can talk to that we all agree, or will likely agree, is important. So if you limit your scope of your subject to one of these items that you would select beforehand, it substantially focuses your presentation on something that the audience wants to hear. And just briefly, and I'll ask for a show of hands. One hand if I think this is interesting too, if this is very interesting, okay? So just real quick, I'm going to read through the list. Acceptance, curiosity, eating, family, honor, idealism, independence, order, physical activity, power, romance, saving, social contact, tranquility, status, and vengeance. Very good. So I can tell you right now, we can talk about a great many things in this group that I'm absolutely certain that you would be on board for. And by looking at this as a subject of inquiry, you can become curious about what it is the audience needs to hear. Because providing them with what it is they need to hear guarantees you of one thing. And what would that be?
Attention.
Their attention. Exactly. Because once you have the audience's attention, you can go with it where you choose. Whether it's a sales proposal, whether it's to inspire, or whether it's to educate. The first trick is to gather the audience's attention. So by triggering, by keeping your subject pertinent to the 16 things that most people are interested in, and then developing your speechcraft so that everyone's sitting there and they're voracious for the very next word. Learning how to do this well, is important. And what I will ask you at this moment is that if this is of value, take it with you and work with it. Because inside our paradigm of Toastmasters, there's a great many possibilities. The future leaders will be able to communicate substantially better than the average person. Communication isn't an option. We have become aware through our studies at Toastmasters, through our practice, through our self-education, that we can all become a little bit better at this thing we call communication. Now, from time to time, I bring things to the table that are very disparate. I love some of the Greek philosophers. They had some great stuff. I read recently a book by a man named Xanthes. Let me rephrase that. It was a book purportedly about a man named Xanthes, who was one of the early Greek speakers. And one of the things he talked about was the idea of working emotion into what we do. So from time to time we'll speak about that. From time to time we talk about a great many things. Primarily, I want you to be aware of that you can trigger the audience. Use that. Use it purposefully. Because when you get the audience keyed up or keyed on, you get them to become ravenous for what it is that comes next. So what is a trigger? A trigger is an idea that everybody will go, ooh, I understand that. We talk about passion, mystique, prestige, power, rebellion, alarm, and trust. Those are very common, very powerful triggers. The things that are very much almost a psychological archetype, right? In the quick impromptu survey that I did, I could speak about order, honor, power, savings, and everyone would be on board because it's important to all of us, and it is. So I'll leave you with one thought, and it was said by Dale Carnegie: talk in terms of the other person's interest. Madam Toastmaster.
you, Doug, for that great speech.